YouTube.
Hi everybody. Today I'd just like to talk a little bit of my process in this video. The process when I make art, sculptures in particular. So usually it starts in my head with some kind of image, something I want to accomplish, a form I want to realize. Usually I'll make sketches, gather some photo references if I need, and figure out what exactly I want, what position I want, what pose I want, and if that's doable with the materials I have, the situation I have, and the place I have to work. So with sculpture, the base, the frame is extremely important. You want that stability, you want to make sure it doesn't fall over. It's balanced, of course. So in this piece, I used some styrofoam that was left over, cardboard boxes, PET bottles, anything I could gather just to build a solid base and try the basic form I wanted, the basic shape I wanted. Just like building blocks when you were a kid, building it up from the base up. And my thing is using recycled, upcycled materials, things I just have in abundance around the house or I can get easily. Partly because I can't afford pricey materials too. I'd love to work in large amounts of clay or wood, but here where I am, it's not easy to come by in large amounts at a reasonable price. And anyway, being environmentally conscious and keeping sustainability in mind has always been one of my principles and goals in my art. And I think we owe that to our animals, wildlife, nature, and our pets too. So building layers after the base, especially with animal sculptures like this, we have to consider the musculature, the bone structure, and build it up to get it right. I like the physicality of sculpture, not only because I get to use my hands, move, there's a physical element to it, but I really love martial arts. And I've always felt that that's really helped me in forming 3D shapes, because in martial arts you have to really know your body position, be aware of your surroundings and your form and how it relates to everything. So I found there's lots of similarities, and that's really been helpful. If you do any kind of sports, you have to be very conscious of your body and your form, what you're doing, and I think that relates really well to art, especially 3D art. So similarly here, I'm thinking of form and placement a lot, and you take steps back, of course, a lot, examine things from different angles. Unlike 2D work, you have to be really aware of how it looks from all perspectives, low angles, high angles, far, near, and so on, and all the way around. And of course, we make mistakes. I make mistakes sometimes. At times proportion is off, or I don't like how a certain part is turning out. So I go back, do it again, rip it off, adjust until I'm satisfied. And that's the beauty of sculpture. You can, of this kind anyway, you can often just go back and do things over. Probably not so much if you're working in stone, marble, wood, and something like that. For me, when I work, there's a constant layering. In this case, I'm using a lot of paper. Building it up layer by layer helps me achieve a form that gets pretty natural in the end. Just like we're all made of bones, ligaments, tendons, muscles, skin, layered upon layer. I find that layering it up slowly gives it a very natural look in the end. So frame first, and then we layer. One thing I have to do, like everything, we have to take breaks sometimes. Taking a bit of time away from it and coming back with fresh eyes sometimes completely changes things. Sometimes between working you get inspired, or you see something that changes your view or gives you an idea of how something can be, and you come back refreshed and you realize something that you didn't before. One thing I want to mention is going with the flow, so to speak. There was a time where I'd really tried to struggle and fight to get exactly what I want, but I've learned that sometimes go with how things naturally are. What I mean is, there are times when I really like the line or shape of how something is, and instead of fighting or changing it, I use it. And it's often for the better, kind of cooperation rather than struggle. Depending on the material you use, sometimes it just naturally is this way, and you try to use that to your advantage. Going back to talking about breaks, sometimes I have to remind myself to breathe too. We get so focused, and sculpture art sometimes takes a lot of energy, and you got to remember to slow down and enjoy it, right? Sometimes I have to remind myself to inhale, exhale, and take some long breaths too. This, after all, should be relaxing. I think we should enjoy it. Sometimes things don't turn out the way we initially planned, but at times it's a nice surprise. If we keep at it, eventually you'll find a way to resolve things into a final piece that you're happy with, hopefully. So when you approach the last parts of it, once you have the structure you want, the basic form you want, or the details, right? Textures, color, I just kind of add a bit of an ink wash here for some stripes. You work on some fine little things, sharpen some things up, just like a painter, I suppose, right? You know, the details are at the end. Another thing I've kind of struggled with sometimes is knowing when it's finished. I figure a lot of artists go through the same thing. When is a piece finished? There's a point where you can do more damage to it than good if you keep going. And knowing when to stop, when it's complete, is a challenge. It's always been a challenge for me anyway. I don't know about you, but when is a piece finished? Sometimes you're lucky in a way that you have time constraints and that's it. But if you don't have that, and you have the luxury of taking your timing and doing it slowly at your pace with no end in mind, that's something you really have to decide, and with difficulty for myself anyway, is when is it finished. And sometimes you just get sick of it, I guess, right? And you just want to move on to something else. But it's always been a challenge for me. How about yourself? How do you decide when something is done? But when I do come to a stage where I think it's just about done, or I come to the final stages, I do a lot of examination about it. I look at it for a long time, move around at different angles, up and down. Sometimes I walk away from it for a while and come back a few days later and look at it again, if I can, just to really see if there's anything that I should change or do better or redo. And finally, we photograph it, maybe take video of it too, for videos like this. And I don't know about you, but I found that looking at it through the camera, through video, sometimes changes your view on it too. It just looks different in a way from the naked eye to pictures, photographs, video as well. So sometimes that makes you see something, or makes me see something, and I have to go back and just tweak or change something also, so that it just translates better through all mediums. But anyway, I enjoy the process a lot of making art, especially sculpture. I'd love to hear how you work. What do you do? There's a lot of great and more experienced sculptors than myself out there, and I'd love to know your process and how you approach things, how you finalize things. So please feel free to leave comments or contact me and let me know how you approach things, how you deal with challenges and issues during your process and work. And thank you for watching. Take care, everybody.